Buongiorno, buon pomeriggio, and buonasera, Lazio world. Welcome to our instant reaction pod. Little stoppage time here as we review Lazio versus Fiorentina in a match that just wrapped up in dramatic fashion. I'm your host, Sean McIntosh, joined as always by my man Caleb Adams. Caleb, wow, it's good to be back, man. It's been
Wow.
a little bit since we got to record together between the
Yes.
international break, our club, Charlotte FC, making it into the playoffs and having some huge matches down the stretch.
Yeah.
You carried the team on your back, covering
How to do it.
an unfortunate match in Feyenoord. But welcome back. It's good to see you, and it's good to celebrate
A
a
win.
victory over Fiorentina. How you feeling today?
Man, I feel great. And I think this win, there's a difference between a win that you kind of get a little lucky in. And yeah, we got a penalty, but we'll talk about it more later. But that second half performance was a much improved, much more energetic. And it felt like we deserved a goal there at the end. And so it feels even better to celebrate off a really strong second half of just team play.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, two different halves. I mean, this had the makings, and I said this, I tweeted this out today. I don't like to hype up a match this early in a season. I don't like using the words must win, but it was a
Yeah.
critical match for
Mhm.
us. This was a match that for me was going to determine what type of a season, what type of a team we had. For me, I looked at it as a must bounce back, right? Not a great performance against Feyenoord. You get played off the pitch in a Champions League match. What type of mentality were they going to come into this one with? Any
Yeah.
hopes of Champions League? This was the one to take points with Milan, Napoli, Roma all dropping over the weekend, and this is against a good team, a team that sat ahead of you in the table, a team that has looked relatively sharp this year,
Yeah.
but a team that if you are Champions League ambitious, you have to beat. You have to beat at home, especially. So, and we can talk about it. But this absolutely was a critical win and one that we hope creates a little bit of momentum now. A few wins here in a row could see us climb the table. So, Caleb, your 3 words or less to describe this one.
So my initial 3 words, they still hold true, is final third indecision, which could have cost us this game. Um, but I'll let you say yours because I want to change that to a more positive one because we did have a positive second half. So go ahead, say yours, and I'll quickly think of a positive one for me.
Well, likewise, in that my word, and I only had to choose one word for this, and still holds true because we've got to fix this element. And you said it, I just condensed it into one word, and it was wasteful.
Yeah.
In so many ways, we were wasteful tonight. Certainly, most of it being in the final third, most of it being in critical scoring positions in and around the box.
Yeah.
And it just was a lack of sharpness in that decision making, taking one too many touches, holding onto a ball, trying to make an extra decision on whether or not to pass it. And there were so many opportunities where just taking a shot, putting a little bit of pressure on the keeper. Look, you're in a position in most times where a quick shot is at worst going to lead to a rebound, which we saw in the Felipe Anderson had a moment where inside of the box he turns, at least gets it on frame, forces the keeper to make a save. And there's some rebound and opportunity for some danger, but so much of tonight was wasteful. And then in a moment of need, he who is so clinical and has been so for so long for Lazio comes in and cool as a cucumber, finishes. Yeah, that man right there finishes his chance to give us all 3 points. So still wasteful, yes, still wasteful, but it was a different second half with more urgency, and And that's what would have made this loss really frustrating, because certainly we escaped some moments, and Fiorentina had a few chances for sure. But by and large, I think there's no question to that second half who the better side was. And because of how wasteful we were in the final third, I really would have taken a loss or even a draw hard, because I thought I thought we deserved more. And so it was nice to see. So knowing that you are now switching your words,
yes,
what do you got as a more accurate description of the match?
I'll change it to didn't get complacent. We've seen a lot of times this year where we've had sort of maybe different spurts and chances we've missed, and then we come out in the second half flat. We come out sort of content and complacent to just kind of kick the ball around, chill out a little bit, and the other team comes out with more energy and starts attacking us, putting pressure on us, and ends up getting the win. We've seen that several times this season. This time it was the opposite. This time we were like, you know what, let's take it up a notch. We took it up a notch. We actually got sharper. We put more intensity, even more than the first half. And it's hard for me to say how many times this year we've had a second half where we look more intense. Maybe, two other times that I can think of at the top of my head. But for me, didn't get complacent. We had opportunities. It would have been easy for the team to just kind of lay back, chill, hope for an opportunity to kind of land their way again. But they were aggressive and pushing for that win, which love to see that.
Yeah, and look, I think the stat that for me pops out that shows the difference in halves is first half we had 2 attempts, no shots on target. Yeah. 2 attempts, poor attempts, didn't threaten. Wasn't until the 47th minute that we even got anything on frame, and that was from Luis Alberto from relatively deep that didn't threaten the keeper. And you look at the final statistics, and it was 11 attempted shots, 4 on target. It just, we have so oftentimes, as you said, come into a little bit of a shell and played so timid in second half. So it was nice to see. And there were a few players that played their role in seeing us come to life. And that leads me to our player of the match. Who did you have as the player that stood out, that ultimately helped us either preserve this lead or preserve the draw at the moment up until the celebrations in the 95th minute?
Yeah, you're gonna hate me for this.
I know who you're gonna say,
and I'm not doing it to spite you. But I'm actually, when I look at the game as a whole, our midfield looked much better. Our attackers look better in that sort of post 55th minute on. However, as I look at the game as a whole, I'm actually going to give my player of the match to Patrick. And he had one, it was offside, and maybe he got fortunate with that. However, he did have, he had that one little thing where he tried to body the guy, wasn't hard enough he didn't play the ball hard enough. He was able to get it. However, Patrick, I'll read you some stats to back my claim here. So Patrick, who I thought had a very composed, level-headed, consistent game today, had 64 passes, 92%, passing accuracy. He was sharp on the ball. He had that ball over the top. That was also caught offside, but he was always very proactive in possession, looking to break lines, which I enjoy that a lot from center backs. He had 8 of 11 accurate long balls, So these are passes greater than 20, 25 yards. So, again, talking about being proactive in possession, looking to break lines. On defense, he made 2 out of 3 tackles. So out of 3 attempts, he made 2 of them, 67%, solid. However, out of ground duels, 3 of 3, 100%. Aerial duels, 2 of 3, 67%. So he had a near perfect game. If it wasn't for that one little mistake on that ball over the top, Patrick would have had a near perfect game. And I thought that he was really solid for us today.
Yeah, look, it's a very good shout. I think Patrick, very deserving. On that same note, Romagnoli, who obviously was the other culprit in the goal that was ruled offside, getting beat by a ball over the top. Lucky that it hit the Fiorentina's player's arm and was ruled, a handball. But aside from that, both Patrick and Romagnoli played
Yeah.
very, very strong matches. Very, even Marusic, who has been up and down this season.
He
I
did.
thought early on he made one mistake, led to a turnover, and I was ready for him to have one of those matches. I jotted my
Yeah.
notes down, and I was like, here we go. You and I have both wanted to see Pellegrini,
Yeah.
and I thought he did really well to put the clamps on Ikone, who can be a very, very dangerous player, has a ton of pace, and Marusic played, very smart. So the back line, very, very strong. Provedel, again, a couple really good saves to keep us in there. For me, my man of the match I'm gonna actually give it to, I loved what Felipe Anderson did today,
Mhm.
and for me this was this was a Felipe Anderson match that, this is the Felipe that we're going to get more often than not. He's going to have his brilliant offensive performances,
Yeah.
and then he's going to tail off. He may be invisible, but
Mm.
today's Felipe Anderson is the one that, we. This is why Sadi loves him so much. Is today's
Yeah.
performances. He's winning. He's winning balls back. He's coming in for tackles. He's dropping back. He's making really good runs. He's finding himself in dangerous positions. We want him to be better in the final third. We want him to be a little bit quicker in decision making. But I thought the energy level from him, thought the energy level from Tati, I thought Gendouzi, I
Mhm.
thought those three players particularly were just all over the pitch,
Yeah, they
gave
were.
great energy, and that's what you want to see. Again, you hope that it's going to click in the final third. They're in the right positions, but the energy and the fight,
Mhm.
the fight to get us to a point where we can find our ways to maybe get a lucky bounce, or in today's case, earn a handball in the box, and brings me to a player we just can't give him man of the match for the couple minutes he played and the impact, but let's Pedro and Vecino. I mean, the subs today made an impact. What did you think, by and large, about the subs? And let's talk about those subs compared to who they came on for, and maybe some of the performances that'll lead us to our bidone of the match.
Yeah, yeah. I thought I think it was to us to be able to make those sort of substitutes that we had and bring in that quality already. Boom. I mean, that's something that we haven't had the luxury of in the past, and we continue to talk about it this season because it's significant that we're able to bring in that much quality off the bench. And I thought they were all lively. I think our substitutes in general have been some of our most positive sort of periods of play. It seems when our substitutes are doing what you want substitutes to do, which is bringing them some life, injecting some life. I want to give also a shout out to Kamada, who comes in on a second touch, plays a perfect ball to Felipe down there, sees it, boom, plays it. I thought he was really sharp. I thought he looked really sharp today. Um, and so for me, I thought they were excellent. Again, much needed boost. They did exactly what they're supposed to do, and they continue to show that, hey, if we don't get it done with the first team, it's okay. We can trust the next guy up, right? And so for me, that was a huge plus.
Yeah, no drop off at all. You have
Yeah.
Rovella, who's playing with a yellow, and we know his defensive responsibilities, and that's a tough situation to be in, and I'm a little bit worried, with how this match is, that he could find himself with a second yellow, and you know what, no big deal. Let's throw Cataldi on there, who obviously is a trusted player who can play very well, who's also really strong when it comes to set pieces, which it was a failure today by Mr. Luis Alberto. But those players, and Pedro, so oftentimes this season already coming up in big moments, making plays. Vecino has been, Steve Strasburg has mentioned it. Vecino, coming close with that shot that went wide. I mean, I jumped out of my seat. I thought it was a goal,
I did too. Yeah.
because it was a wonderful shot that just went inches wide, and these players just making an incredible impact. And obviously Ciro Immobile coming into the match and finding, the penalty, just great stuff. And it was our subs that ultimately all three had a part to play, with Pedro crossing the ball in, Vecino heading it, earning the handball, and then Ciro Immobile finishing it off. Much more impactful than a couple players. And so let's talk about our bidone. For me, it's going to fall on Luis Alberto. And by and large, not a terrible performance. And he's been my bidone for a couple matches. And I always want to preface it by saying the expectations for him are pretty high. And he obviously does so much for this team and the catalyst to our attack. But today he just didn't really have it. But for me, why he gets that bidone is we are a team that is struggling to finish opportunities, and our attack is struggling in that phase. And so your set pieces become even more important. And so when we've got a team that does such a great job at earning free kicks. And Zaccagni is one of the best in all of Europe in earning free kicks and getting fouled and putting teams in those positions. And Luis Alberto, as wasteful as it gets, we talked about my word being wasteful. Well, our set pieces were absolutely atrocious, and maybe the worst I've ever seen it from Luis. Where we all saw the balls that he played were just nowhere near anybody, and I don't know if it was miscommunication or what, but it happened multiple times, and it was bad, and put us in a position of just not having any sort of attack. And so for me, he's my bidone. He just has to be better, and if he's not going to be, which I would say, time to cut ship on that one, because he's not been for at least that I can remember during his time at Lazio. And so I think that's on Sadi at this point. He's got to yank him from that responsibility. So who do you have as your bidone?
I'm gonna go as Zaccagni today. Some stats here. Just he had 0 successful dribbles. He tried 3, had 0 of them. Then he had 1 cross, and it wasn't accurate. Like it didn't count as a completed cross. Just really underwhelming. A lot of the players we relied on a lot last year have sort of taken a dip this year. I think about Casale, I think about Zaccagni, and it's a bit concerning, right? Because we were thinking, hey, we're gonna get these guys at this level and the new guys coming in to bolster that on top of it. But instead, we've kind of gone down a little bit, and the guys have kind of made up a bit of that, right? Instead of just kind of being right on the top of this is a flat improvement. But we've seen a dip from that sort of floor this season for whatever reason. But yeah, I mean, he just was not effective. Anytime he got the ball, he couldn't create anything. He made one good move to get into the box, and I don't know if it was a shot or cross, just completely hits the ball wide of the net. Just the decision making that final third has been really poor. Not just from him, albeit, right? The whole team has sort of struggled in that final third, making that final ball, being a bit hesitant to make that ball for whatever reason. But yeah, that's a good shout out from Steve that he was Parisi was shutting down Zaccagni. He definitely won that duel, in that battle. But like Alberto, you expect more from Zaccagni, who was kind of seen as our premier playmaking winger, right? And really goal scoring. I mean, we relied on 9 goals from him last year, which is a pretty significant chunk, and a few assists there. So, yeah, still yet to see a little more of the version of him in last year, but hopefully we start clicking a little better.
Yeah, we've got a quick turnaround, and we've got our next match here in a handful of days on Friday. It's against Bologna. Must win. We see ourselves now in the table all the way up to 7th now with 16 points, just a point behind Fiorentina and 2 points behind Napoli, and only 3 points now out of 4th with Atalanta being in that position. So, an important one against Bologna. Bologna is in 8th, so this isn't they're right behind us. This isn't a match that we can look beyond, because it's easy to do. It's easy to look past Bologna when we've got Champions League against Feyenoord at home, and then we've got the derby. And so we've got to maintain focus. Caleb, we talked about Luis, not playing as great. We talk about Zaccagni being a little bit off, and we've talked about some of these players like Kamada playing really well today, and Pedro, who continues to be excellent in his appearances. And what would you do? What would you do on Friday? Who do you start?
Well, let me also give a little bit more context too in this matchup for people that's like for anyone that may think that this is a free win. I'm looking here, but they haven't lost a game in 9 straight matches. They have a lot of draws, but they are really tough to beat. To go there and get a win is tough in the way they're currently playing. They have a ton of clean sheets here as well. I'm seeing maybe 7 out of 9 of these are clean sheets, maybe 6 of them, which is impressive. So I want to sit Alberto for this match particularly. Quick turnover. He played in the Champions League. He played this game, right? He's played a lot of minutes, maybe the most minutes on the team aside from the goalkeeper, or maybe Romagnoli. But I want to see Kamada get that start. I like keeping Guendouzi. I think is in a good flow and good rhythm. Keep Guendouzi, go Guendouzi, Kamada. Go Ravella. He didn't play too many minutes today. Maybe throw him out there again for another 60 minutes and then put in Katardi, who I will also give credit to. Came in and had a nice shift. Maybe one of the best sort of shifts that he had this year so far. And I would like to also striker, Immobile, Castellanos, either one I'm okay with. Whoever starts will probably get subbed out, around the same time as well. So it's not really, I don't have a strong preference there. I go with the same back line. Just got a clean sheet. Keep that going. Don't want to mess that up. And maybe, I don't know, you naturally want to go Felipe Zaccagni, but maybe give Pedro a little 60-minute game. Maybe give Isaacson a spell. I would like to maybe see us shake up the wingers a bit. But other than that, that's what I would go for personally. What about you?
Yeah, I think the back line and I think the midfield, I would likewise, I would start Rovella and Guendouzi. I want to see those two play together a lot more frequently. Just keep them in a rhythm and use this opportunity to play Kamada from the jump. He's got to start for me. Let Luis sit. Let Luis have a break. Get him prepared for Feyenoord and obviously the derby. Those ones we're going to need our best players at their best. So again, we talk about that there's not a ton of a drop off in talent. So use this opportunity to play Kamada. Yeah. Let's see what that midfield trio looks like, because we talked about it early and in the offseason. I think that's probably our best trio, or can be.
Yep.
And I want to see what it looks like. And then give Pedro a start, because we're gonna again need Zaccagni at his best for these upcoming matches. But I want to see Cheeto start, and I want to take advantage of this goal, get a little bit momentum, get that momentum from him.
Yeah.
Right. He's been able to rest. I'm not worried about that at all. Play him 70 minutes if you feel like you need to save some minutes for him. But let's for a player that has just been hard done this season, very unlucky, out of form, coming in and being able to get that goal from a penalty spot. I think it's and the celebrations after, you saw how much that meant to him. And let's build off of that.
I like that.
I like the shout for Isaacson. I just don't think he's ready to start yet.
That's fine. As long as we see, I just want to see him.
I would love to see him. We were texting about this, just wondering why, he's not had the appearances that he had, and in the few moments he played really well. My guess is that just defensively, he's not necessarily grasped the duties that Sarri requires from his wingers, and we see that Felipe is so strong in that area. So really important for us, and these fixtures are the ones that are ultimately must wins. We can't keep dropping points to mid-table teams. So really, really important for us. Big takeaway for you going into this important stretch with the derby looming. What's your big takeaway?
Big takeaway is we're getting it done in the league. Right, it's 2 straight wins now. Let's keep it going. That's the biggest takeaway. And also, we're still in good position in Champions League. We're still very much our spot to lose, right? So let's keep it going because we
Yeah.
are trending upwards. We are trending
Yeah.
upwards.
No, it's good. We saw a lot of signs, as frustrating as the finishing can be. We saw a lot of positive signs. For me,
Yeah.
strong mentality,
Yeah.
a good bounce back.
Yeah.
It's what I wanted to see in terms of my measuring this team. Why I thought this match was so important was just mentality. How many times this season was this the third time where we score in the 95th minute to either level or win a match? And so can't count us out. And it's important that maybe we don't stress the fans out as much, and we can finish some of these matches earlier.
Right.
But it's a good sign, and Cheeto is only a couple goals away from as well making history. So a lot of things to look forward to. As always, we will be here to cover it and react with you all. We're excited to talk on Friday. Let's hope for a big win. Make sure you're following us on all of our social platforms. We are on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, and of course YouTube. And for your audio listening, we are on all of those platforms as well. Subscribe, help us grow. We want to continue to do this and do more of it. So as always, above everything, sempre Forza Lazio.